Thank you for tuning in to The Balancing Fact. I'm Angela Calais. I have been a full-time realtor for the past 16 years. With 3 kids running a real estate brokerage, I work to dispel the myth that you cannot have a work-life balance when working in real estate. That balance looks different for everybody. Today, my guest is Linda Scherrer. Linda is the owner of Inner Wisdom and Wellness, a yoga and Reiki studio in Franklin, Wisconsin. She teaches Hatha Yoga, which is your typical yoga with mostly standing postures, and Yin Yoga, which is mostly on the ground postures for deep stretching. Linda believes yoga is more than just postures. She believes in the power of yoga to bring energetic balance to the body, mind, and spirit. She incorporates breathwork, meditation, sound healing, essential oils, crystals, and energy medicine techniques in her yoga classes and also in Reiki sessions. Linda is also a Reiki master teacher and helps people shift energy to heal physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. She is passionate about empowering people with tools to alleviate stress, strengthen their intuition, and follow their divine path and live their best life. I am so grateful to have Linda join me today to talk more about grounding, balance, and the importance of the root chakra. Good morning, Linda. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you talk to me more about, so I went to a class of yours. You have this great yoga and tea twice a month at your yoga studio. And it was the root chakra was the inspiration, I guess, for the session that I went to. And I'm a Reiki master as well, but I am definitely not to the level that you would be. I don't know everything that there is to know, and I'm sure nobody knows everything, right? Or that how could you? But I learned so much about the root chakra in this class that we did, and you have a great approach to your classes in that we go for yoga, but we start with a really nice meditation, and learned a lot about the root chakra during that meditation, and then different poses to help with the root chakra. And I felt so inspired that the connection that has to what I'm trying to do with this podcast, that I really needed to have more conversation with you about it. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you for having me. As I was telling my yoga clients this morning, I just started saying yes to everything. So just trust and see what the universe provides. And so when you asked me, I'm like, yeah, it was a yes.
Absolutely. And I'm glad I said yes to going to the yoga class, because that's great. I feel like it was, I remember because I have my real estate office in the same strip mall as your yoga studio. And when you came over to introduce yourself, I thought, this is so meant to be, like that. Just with the practitioner who's on the other side of the office and you on the other side, I'm like, this is like the divine coming together, like telling me, like, yes, we are on the right path. The universe is bringing like minds together. So
yes, like attracts like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't realize you left a career in teaching to really follow your passion.
Absolutely. I was Mrs. Scherrer for 25 good years at Forest Park Middle School in Franklin, and I absolutely loved teaching. But it's just after a while, like what happens is, we're meant to experience a path and a journey here in this lifetime. And it was the calling, my soul was calling out and like pushing for me to grow and change and evolve. And part of my evolving was stepping onto this next new path of life for me, where I pursued the Reiki more, which I had been doing for a few years. While I was still teaching, I was doing that on the side, just mostly for family and friends. And I remember one morning in August, getting ready to go to, the back to school orientation and some meetings we had planned for the school year. And I wake up and I hear very loud and clear, you need to learn to teach yoga. And of course, my response is what? No, I don't teach yoga. I don't even do yoga for real. Seriously.
Really?
My yoga experience before I actually became a yoga teacher was one rec department 6-week session through the Franklin Rec Department that I half-heartedly attended. If I was tired, I didn't go. And yoga was never my thing. I was in gymnastics in high school, but I was average at best. So it's not like I was born bending like a pretzel or anything like that. It was just truly divinely inspired, I guess, a push for me to move on to the next part of my path. And the yoga teacher training was just phenomenal. It really helped me transform into the role that I'm in now. And yoga helped me so much. I didn't realize how stressed and perhaps burned out I was, or how I had just kind of gotten stuck in a loop, or almost like on a wheel, and just maybe lost sight of myself and my authenticity. And yeah, so I took the risk and opened up this business. And 6 weeks after I opened, we had to shut down for the pandemic, and still zero regrets. And I'm just riding the waves of this, and I trust that whoever I'm meant to help will come to me for yoga or Reiki or whatever it is. And I'm happy when whoever walks through my door is just, again, like you said, it's divinely inspired. It's they're meant to be here, and I'm meant to serve in this capacity now.
What I want to say risk, but I feel like it's just something, so new to go from the structure of a regular, a regular paycheck, first of all, regular hours, or so you think, because I know teachers spend a lot of time after hours doing things like grading papers and, projects and things like that, like to go from that structure to something totally different. What did that transformation look like? Like how old, you just started this business a year ago. So this was a relatively new, decision for you to take this leap.
Absolutely. When I started, I was like, gosh, I wish I had taken a business class or two throughout my school career. It's like, no, the psychology and background and my elementary, middle school education background surprisingly felt like it was enough to prepare me. And I just, I had help where I needed just to get started and get my feet on the ground through some mentors. And my husband is a business owner, so he definitely helps me with the accounting and the bookwork and all of those things. But it was a complete change, and it was an amazing sense of freedom. For so much of my lifetime, I defined my life as, teacher, and trying to juggle being teacher and parent and wife and, play all of those roles. And it was just so automatic what I did. There are many careers that are very taxing and trying on your time. And, teaching, I was working like, sometimes it was 70-hour weeks. You're working your Saturdays, your Sundays. There's, time is going by, and I'm stuck at the kitchen table grading papers and then regrading them for when they turn them in to try again. And it's just so many things changed too in my years as a teacher. And the structure, the paycheck, those are all the things that I guess kept me in it for so long. In addition to that, I've always I love children and helping, the youth, just finding and seeing the light in all children, because they really are God's gifts, God's blessings to us all. And I stayed for that, for the amazing colleagues that I got to work with, just amazing, hardworking people, unbelievable. And it was really, the stability, which is, I think, why a lot of people sometimes stay. You have the paycheck, and then you set up your life based on two incomes and the structure and the routine. And so just letting all of that go, and honestly, letting God, because what I believe is when you are inspired to do something, when you, answer a calling, when you, move forward bravely on your path, the universe does provide. I joke that, it's like, well, I've got a stimulus and all that this year. And, we may have changed some tax brackets and all of that, but that's not why I went into this in the first place. It's not about the paycheck. It's about serving and helping in a different capacity. And it's true that I feel like the universe does reward that in some way. And abundance comes in all forms. It's, people just see it as, financial or a paycheck. Well, there's other ways to receive abundance in your life too. And it's just that trusting and letting go, that incredible amount of freedom that I felt to basically reinvent myself.
You shared with me, I think it's an acronym. Is that what they call it, for fear?
Oh, yeah. Fear. So let's see. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And fear, I believe, is what really keeps us stuck and keeps us in routines and in patterns, and just keeps us from living our best life in so many ways. The way I see things, and this is based on, teachings, courses I've taken, books I've read, things like that, but it seems to resonate with me in that we have love and we have fear. And it's as if they're on extremes. And we're meant to live from the heart chakra, from the heart center, from the space of love, loving and accepting ourselves, which then allows us to love and accept others. When we say namaste, that means, the God in me honors the God in you. So just living in a place of love, is trusting, it's joyfulness, playfulness, laughter, joy. Fear gets in the way of all of that. When people are living in fear, they are stuck in their thinking. And if you could see it energetically, they have, you would say, that blocked crown chakra or third eye chakra. They block themselves, they stop themselves. And, I've even seen it where the image I get is like they're just stopped in their tracks, like they're just bled feet, won't allow themselves to move forward. And fear is somewhat more ego-based, where what is it you're really afraid of? Because the only thing that, the only way that fear has power over you is if you allow it to have power over you. Because if you really live and come from the heart space, the space of love, you trust and you see, God's light in everybody, and there really isn't anything to fear. You're solid and strong in your own thinking. You're connected to your inspiration, your inner wisdom, your divinity. And what really is there to fear? It's people fear all kinds of things. What are other people going to think of me? What if I, all of the what ifs. What if I can't make ends meet? What if the business fails? Well, how would you define failure? Is it a failure? Is it not? How it's perspective. It's how we see things.
Yeah. And I feel like there's always that fear as well of just losing a routine. So, you want to go with the flow. You want to be adaptable. You want to be present. And then you're balancing that with, okay, I want to make sure every day I have time to go for a walk. I want to make sure every day I have time for meditation. So you're balancing that structure of the things that you want to incorporate your day with also being available to whatever the universe is going to bring you, so that you will still be open to being able to say yes to another opportunity. I feel like that's a whole different balance that everybody has to deal with, is how am I going to stay true to myself and still uphold these other obligations and responsibilities I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the lessons I learned in this venture is it really is within yourself, and you have to look within yourself. Yes, I was very busy as a teacher, grading papers on weekends, and there was a massive amount of work sometimes to do in order to, do your best. But what I really learned is that, so now even with owning a business and the yoga, Reiki studio, yes, it's a slower pace, because again, I can control that pace a bit more being a business owner and adjusting and adapting to, the conditions. But somebody once told me, and this is really the lesson I learned, that no matter what job you have, no matter what you do, whether you work outside the home, whether you just, you work within the home, whatever it is you do, work will take up as much time as you allow it to take up. Because I even noticed that with this, I found myself, okay, well, wait a minute. I used to complain that I'd be up late at night or working on the weekend. It's like, well, how come I'm still doing that?
Mhm.
You know, like even to prepare for this, I was like, oh my goodness, I got to make sure I have the right camera, the right this, the right that. And it's like, it's why am I still up late? Why am I still doing this? And I find that especially when I'm planning for the yoga chakra and tea series, this and that. And it's like, why am I still feeling like I'm under the pressure?
Mhm.
And it really is, I guess we have to take responsibility. We have to own that, you know, as I own that, like, yes, it was the job. Yes, it was the career. But at the same point, it really stops and starts with me. How much time will I allow
Mhm.
those other things to take up? And really making yourself a priority. You know, there's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, when you're going and going and going, and it's almost like a hamster on a wheel. You just keep going and going and going. And you get out of touch with that loving space in your heart. You get out of touch with your authentic self, because it's almost like you get numb and you keep doing because you just keep doing. And what I feel like we need to do is stop and ask ourselves, is what I'm doing valuable?
Mhm.
Because we are valuable. Our time, our energy, where you give your attention is where that energy flows. And sometimes we just don't take enough time to stop and reevaluate what it is we're doing.
Yeah. I'm taking a class right now, and I had a call with a classmate of mine this morning, and she goes by the motto of work 3, play 4.
Oh.
So she works really hard 3 days a week, works those long hours, and that allows her to take the time for herself 4 days a week. And, as a business owner, there's always things that come up that you have to tend to, but the intention, I feel like as long as your intention is there and you stay true to why you're doing this, the rest will follow. So, and when it's really something that you love doing, is it really work? Like you just feel so fulfilled at the end of it that when you're feeling fulfilled, it's going to spread to the people around you. And that's rewarding in and of itself.
Absolutely. And even saying the word work, and I can't take credit for this one. I was told this one by a friend, a spiritual person that I worked with for some time. And is it work or is it play? Because if you even just change the wording, work just sounds awful. Quite honestly, it sounds awful. It sounds like it's a hardship to have to do it. But when you say play, then it just changes even the frequency, the vibration of the word, because our words have power and they have a resonance, and just changing the perception. We don't play and laugh enough, I believe, in society these days. And those are the things that we need in order to continue attracting, abundance and good things in our life. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to be joyful and, have a life full of love and, happiness and all those things that we're seeking. And sometimes we lose sight of it, or we just don't realize that the solution is within. It's not, oh, I'll be happy when, my business grows to this many clients, or I'll be happy when. Be happy right now. Be happy as if you have already received everything it is that you value, that you wish to see as bringing you happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned a book to me, The Illusion of Money.
Yes.
And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that talks about placing value on how you spend your time. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. The book is called The Illusion of Money, and it's by Kyle Cease. He's a former comedian. He's got a Facebook page, and I believe he's got a podcast as well. It was a book that I read that really kind of helped shift my thinking around money, because it's called The Illusion of Money, but yet it's not really about money. It's really about taking a deep dive into yourself and looking at your belief system, your beliefs around money, and realizing that it's not the paycheck itself, and this is the amount of money I make that brings me happiness or value. It's you yourself have value, and where we choose to give our time in a day does matter. So one of the, he has a lot of exercises that you do throughout the book. So you read a chapter, and like I said, he's a former comedian, so he's got some light humor in there and stories, and because you wonder, like one story is to, how come somebody won the lottery and yet they like lost it all, like is one of the examples, versus, somebody else who didn't. And it's really your belief system. We think that these tangible things are what will bring us happiness and what will change our lives, but it's really changing your belief system. It's what we were ingrained to think, and sometimes unlearning patterns and beliefs we hold around money. Have you ever heard somebody say, for example, like, I'm always broke? Well, okay, you just have put that out into the universe that you will always be broke. We tend to forget that words have energy. Yeah. Thoughts have energy, have power. And what you put out there is going to come back to you in that belief system, and in how you speak, and also how you give your time. So one of the activities that I found valuable that he has you do is to evaluate your day. You go through, and for a few days, you just keep track of like, what did you do and when, and then you evaluate it. You rank it on a scale, and then you calculate where you spent the majority of your time and how much value it had for you. And that's what you're calculating it as, on a value system. So when you're looking at like, well, the majority of my day was spent doing, such and such, and I'm looking at what this was, and it was like, well, that has no value. I didn't enjoy it. It really challenged you to think, well, why are you doing it then? Because we just don't often stop and do that. And yes, people will say, well, sometimes you have to. Well, that's also a way of thinking, that you have to do things. Somebody I know just, said that they're inspired. They start their day with like, I'm not going to do anything today that doesn't bring me joy. If it doesn't bring me joy, I'm not doing it. So maybe that could be an extreme, but it's also challenging us to change our thinking to then, okay, so maybe doing laundry isn't joyful, but is there a way you could make it joyful, or just shifting your thinking around it? Because there's so much power in our thoughts. The universal laws respond to our thinking.
I feel like there's some business applications for that too. So for example, like in my industry, in real estate, there's definitely a train of thought behind having scripts to follow. Like if you're making phone calls and talking to people, what to say, what you expect to hear back, and this should be your response. And I feel like for me, that's never been a really great way for me to build business, because it wasn't authentic to me and it didn't feel right to me. So I stopped spending time doing that. There was less value to my business doing something that wasn't true to what felt right to me, the way that I wanted to earn business. So I feel like there's a way to kind of look at your day. Like if your business isn't going the way that you want it to go, let's put a value on how you're spending time working your business, and what are you gaining from this? And there's probably a good chance that if you're not getting what you want from something, it's probably because it's not coming from the real space. Like if you're going on an appointment and you're meeting with somebody, and you're just saying the things that you think that they expect to hear from you, is that a real conversation? Is that a real relationship that's going to build that conversation? And I would say no. So I feel like there's a way that you can integrate that personally and business-wise, and just create balance all around.
Absolutely. It's about being authentic and true. And when you're following a script, you're taking like the heart out of it. You're taking the feeling out of it. And we're so much thinking beings that we sometimes forget to feel. And when we become more in tune with our feelings, that's where we get that divine wisdom, divine inspiration. How does it make you feel? Being intuitive and connecting to your own intuition. I believe everybody is intuitive. I believe everybody has that inner voice that speaks to them
Yeah.
That inner wisdom, just that knowing that you have it. But oftentimes we don't listen to it.
Yeah.
We overthink and we overanalyze, and I'm guilty of the same. I by all means, I don't.
Oh, we all are. Yeah.
I don't pretend to have all the answers here. I just share my own experiences in life.
Right.
But definitely, when I was able to get kind of out of my head more and into my heart, it's amazing how things just kind of unfold. There's an ease with things when they're not forced. So exactly, for you, abandoning a script, absolutely. It became similar to that in teaching as well. Here's the script to follow, and there's that piece, that authenticity, that flexibility, and that trust in allowing people to go off script, because maybe you're divinely inspired. I'll even come into yoga some days, and even when I first started, like, okay, here it is. This is kind of like my lesson plan for yoga. Here's my guided meditation that I wrote out, and here's my yoga sequence. This is everything I'm going to be doing. And sometimes you show up on the mat, and I can't tell you how often this happened in the beginning, until I finally realized, maybe you don't need the script, Linda.
Yeah.
I show up on the mat, and all of a sudden I close my eyes with everyone else for the meditation, and the most unbelievable, inspiring, amazing words of wisdom come to me, that I end up sharing through that particular day's, guided meditation. And then in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I better write this down. So I remember, again, I was still stuck in that routine of like, I want to remember it. It was so good and powerful, and learning to let go and trust. So now, I show up with a basic idea, but I allow myself to be divinely inspired by, again, coming into that heart space, that feeling, and not overthinking and overanalyzing. You could think something to death. I've been there.
Yeah, for sure.
What good does it do?
Yeah. I feel like that's a perfect transition, because that's kind of what happened when I was at the last yoga and tea session, and I had asked you to come in and be on the podcast with me. And I loved the meditation that you did so much. I asked if you could do it again on the podcast. And you're like, well, it just kind of came to me. I don't know really what I said. And I said, oh, well, you had this paper. Like, I thought that you were reading off of it, but that's just kind of your guide to get you going. And then you just kind of take it from there. That was great. I left that day and it went a little bit longer than I thought, but I'm like, I totally needed that. Like, it was very, you must have been listening to like the energy in the room and feeling the energy and knowing what we needed to hear that day, I think.
That's, exactly that. And the same thing, somebody, oh, could you write that down? Could you record that? I'm like, I wish I could. It just kind of comes to, and maybe I will, do more of that in the future. But again, and that, I think it's a lesson in how to live your life too, just trusting and letting go. We think we have all the answers, or we think we know, but a lot of that comes from fear as well, because, I'm guilty of this as well, fear of making a mistake. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen if I make a mistake? Well, what is going to happen? What is honestly the worst that could really happen? If we view mistakes as learning lessons, as part of our journey for something we need to experience, and we embrace mistakes, wow, are you letting go of a lot of fear? I used to take pride in, my astrological sign is a Virgo. Virgo is perfectionist. Oh, that's just lovely. No, it's not. It took me a long time to realize, oh my gosh, perfectionism is on that spectrum of fear. It's not coming from a place of love and trust. It's coming from fear of making a mistake. Oh my gosh, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? And ultimately, somebody told me this once, and this has stuck with me as well. Ultimately, what you think of me is really none of my business.
Yeah.
It's what we believe and feel within.
And that's a hard habit to break, but there's ways that I feel like we can work on that. And I think that's kind of brings me back to how we started in regards to the root chakra. And I feel like having working, because it's just not a snap of the fingers. It's not something you can say, okay, I'm going to be balanced today, and my energy is going to be on point, and everything is just going to flow the way it's supposed to. It takes work, and it takes time and consideration of how you're going to spend your time and the actions that you're going to take in your life, and being very intentional about getting to that place of having that energetic balance. So what I think called me to the conversation about the root chakra, as you said, it's not, and I'm not quoting you, but the way that it was perceived to me was like, it's not the cool chakra. Like, it's not like the one that everybody wants to talk about. It's not like super sexy, but it is so important. Like, can you share with us what should we be thinking is super cool about the root chakra?
Everything, because it's your foundation, it's your base. And for those people who aren't familiar with the chakra system, it's one of, I think there's 9 energy systems that you have in the body. You have meridians, you have chakras, you have an aura. Whether or not you see it, it's there. I always tell people, you don't see your hormones, but you sure know they're there. Sometimes, some days more than others. But it's basically your aura is like your energetic, spacesuit. It's like your energy field. And the chakras, there are 7 major chakras. Although, supposedly there's like 144, depending on how you look at the chakra system as well. But there are 7 major ones that people recognize. And people tend to recognize, the crown chakra. So that's the, crown at the head. The divine connects you to God or a higher source, however you see the divine. There's your third eye or brow chakra, which is about intuition and, like clarity and seeing things that aren't necessarily just right in front of you, but that inner seeing. Then there's your throat chakra, seat of communication, expressing your authentic self, listening to others. There's the heart chakra, the bridge between the heavenly chakras and the earthly chakras, that heart center, that space of love that we are to come from. The solar plexus, which is the abdominal region. So that's your power center. I call it the source of your motivation and decisiveness, your strength. Your sacral region, just located just below the belly button, which is about connecting to feeling like we deserve in life, that inner child, the joyfulness, playfulness, abundance. And then there's the, so people say the root chakra, located at, the base of the spine. And it's actually the foundation and probably one of the most important chakras, because energy wants to flow and energy flows up. And so if you think of the root chakra, it's located at the base of the spine. Signified sometimes by the color red. It's your everything. It's your foundation. And when we think about, our footing and standing, you wouldn't build a building or a home on a foundation that wasn't sturdy and strong. You wouldn't continue building up and growing when the foundation was crumbling and falling. When the foundation falls and crumbles, that's when big change and big shifting happens. So our foundation, or the root chakra, it's basically all about being strong in who we are. And all of this starts from childhood. The things that we're taught, the things that we learn, and our belief system. And a balanced root chakra, when that is balanced, you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel protected, and you feel very much connected or grounded to your purpose here on earth. And when the root is off, which, these days with, everything going on in our world today, majority of people I see coming into me for Reiki sessions, the root chakra is really off. And that's a lot of times because there's a lot of fear out there in the world. And in addition to our own fears, the more we buy into fear, the more we give into it, the more power we give it. You don't want to feed fear. You want to feed love and the light inside you. But the more we feed fear of whatever it is that you're being told to fear, that you sometimes all of a sudden think, oh, maybe I should be afraid of that. You could be afraid of everything, but where would that get you? Nowhere. There's no foundation to build off of if you're living in fear of things. Mm-hmm. So when you're in fear, the root chakra is off balance because you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure, you don't feel grounded, you don't feel like you have a strong foundation to build from. And then your decisions, everything else is based off of fear of this, fear of that, fear of that. And you can get so far off of your path and your purpose here on earth when you give into those fears. We want to build a strong, stable root chakra, and it can, the energy in the root chakra can shift from time to time as your values and beliefs crumble. So sometimes what happens is, you get your beliefs and your values, we seek that safety, that security as a child. We look to our parents as our first teachers and our guides in life. We want that love, that security, that acceptance. A baby cries, it expects to be fed or changed or held, whatever it needs. So that learning trust versus mistrust in those early developmental stages of life. And we take on beliefs that we're told, often taking on parents' beliefs and what the schools teach and everybody else's beliefs, because it makes us feel safe and secure, like we belong. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is, as you get older and as you sometimes start this process of, well, they say it's enlightenment. And I like to tell people enlightenment isn't just, being all zen on your yoga mat. The process of enlightenment and transforming yourself is kind of an ugly process involving lots of tears and emotions coming up that maybe you've suppressed for a while, but they really do shake your foundation. And what they cause you to do is to rethink, to reevaluate your perspectives, and to come from a different perspective in looking at how you saw yourself. So what are the good things that you remember from your childhood, from the way you were raised? And you take and you keep that. But then also, the more you see clearly, the more you look at how you became and why are you the way that you are? Why were you involved in the sports that you were in? Did you choose to do those? Did your parents influence you? And it's all of trying to connect back to your authentic self, which ultimately stems from your foundation, and foundation was set from a young age.
Yeah. Are there any types of, you come from a place of being a yoga teacher. So I'm sure there's definitely yoga poses that will help strengthen and balance your root chakra. In addition to that, are there any other things that we can do getting our feet on the earth? What types of recommendations would you have for that?
I have so many. Again, because energy wants to flow and move. So in order to be, more intuitive and connected to your divine wisdom, which again, I guess would be one of the more, that third eye chakra. Everyone seems to know about that one. But when the root is balanced, it's like, it's like a flower. It's not going to grow in soil that isn't, fertile. So again, you blossom from the foundation up. So all of yoga helps balance your energy from all of the postures. Even sometimes when I'm saying, well, this one's specifically for this, it is, but it does so much more than that. Everything is just, it's like a well-oiled machine, using yoga and breath work and the postures. It really, it beats stress, but it does something else too. It balances your energy. It helps you be more intuitive. It helps you see things more clearly. When we're coming from a place of fear, when that root chakra is off balance, when we feel, like the foundation has been shaken, we're not grounded, one of the easiest things to do is to just, if it's a nice day out, go stick your feet in the grass, stick your feet in the ground, dig your toes in. If you can't do this outside, you can do this just, from a seated position, from standing. You dig your toes into the earth, close your eyes, and repeat your first name silently to yourself 3 times. What you're doing is you're calling your energy back to yourself, and you're grounding back in to Mother Earth. You're grounding in to this life here, because we see ourselves as this physical body, but you're really a spiritual body having a human experience. We're a spirit, we're a soul in this physical body, and the physical body does need to ground and connect to why we're here. So absolutely, that is one of the things I highly recommend. Another one for connecting, taking walks, outside, being in nature, sitting against a tree, Trees have there's so much healing in nature that we don't often realize, or we take it for granted. We admire its beauty sometimes, but usually that's just while we're busy trying to get from point A to point B. Really spending time outside in nature, because nature grounds and connects us. Walking barefoot on the grass, absolutely. One of the yoga poses we do in class that is a great one to do outdoors is prone shavasana. And it's very simple. You lie down on your stomach on the grass, and you can make a pillow for the forehead, resting the forehead on the hands, and just taking deep inhales, deep exhales. It's a great releasing way to relieve stress. You can actually picture, stress, anxiety, people they get ulcers. Okay. So that's, stress knots in the stomach. You can picture all of that, being released into the earth as you breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Deep breathing. My goodness. I can't say enough about deep breathing. It is important. We are meant to breathe. We are meant to take in as much oxygen as we possibly can. It's the breath of life. It's our God-given right is to breathe fully. And too often, it's the shallow breath. Deep breathing, it's even just, big inhales, big exhales, really filling up that chest and feeling that breath. It can, it's phenomenal. It can it can lower your blood pressure. It strengthens your heart muscle, strengthens your lungs. It brings you away from that mind chatter and that maybe that wheel or that loop that your thinking has taken you into, and again helps you feel safe, secure, grounded. There's I guess one other way that this isn't necessarily a yoga pose, but it's another technique that helps me feel like I'm where I need to be, or helps me continue looking towards the future and where I'd like to be. It's being grateful. It can just change your shifting, your thinking. So instead of, seeing an experience and trying to find that silver lining in it, being thankful, just looking for the lesson, the gift in what's taken place. And sometimes, when you're coming from a place of gratitude, you can attract more things to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. So another activity or exercise that I've done before is, if you like to write, you can do this in journal form. So you would write in a journal 5 things that you're thankful for that actually really happened. I'm so thankful that I got to be on this great podcast with Angela today. Things that actually happened. And then the other 5 that you write are more intentional thankfuls, things that you wish to manifest or wish to create, whatever those might be. And you write those as if they've already happened. I am so thankful that, my yoga class was completely full. My schedule is packed with Reiki, whatever it is. And you're setting that intention, again, connecting to your purpose, the root. Why are you here? What's your purpose here on earth? But setting that intention and putting out those feelings as if they've already happened. And that gratitude journal, one of the best stories I have about that one is I started doing it years ago. And one time I was like, okay, you know what? I've been doing this. I don't believe this works. I was just it was one of those days. And the next day at school was wheelchair basketball. And I couldn't think of one more thankful, a future thankful. I don't know. I was in a stressed out mindset, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I just wrote down in there, I'm so thankful I scored a basket in wheelchair basketball at the teachers versus, students game. Yes, it really did happen. There I was the next day out there. I can't dribble a basketball. I can't play basketball without a wheelchair. And when we were playing against these Whitewater students, I couldn't even believe. I was more shocked and surprised than anybody, because when I threw that ball and it went through that hoop, and I was just because I knew it worked. Yeah. It was
the power of visualization is real.
Yes, and that intention setting. So those are just a few techniques that I have. Ultimately, any stretching you can do. I mean, obviously, I would recommend yoga every day, or any type of stretching, even just, stretching the neck, like you're moving energy in the throat chakra, just simple stretches. Energy wants to move. When energy gets stuck or blocked in the body, that's when you start to notice discomfort or dis-ease. And energy can get stuck in our heads too. that's when you can get stuck in a stress loop, or maybe like replaying an event in your head, like, oh, I should have this, I could have that, or what if I this, or what if I that, and it comes back to you, and it's helping release those thought patterns, because energy can get stuck here as well. So those are all techniques that help. Obviously, I would recommend, just at least 5 minutes of quiet meditation, and just to sit in stillness, just to just take some deep breaths and just connect with the energy in the breath, allow it to relax you, and just 5 minutes of quiet, of stillness. And you could even ask, you can set the intention, okay, what do I need to know today? What's the most important thing I need to know? What do I need to know for my highest good? All those things help.
I use the app Insight Timer when I do, my mind wanders. So I'm really drawn to guided meditation because it'll bring me back if I go off somewhere in my head. And I usually, you can pick by time. So like, how much time do I have right now to do this? So this morning I had 5 minutes. So I pick 5 minutes, I pick guided. And then it shows me like what 5-minute guided meditations I can choose from. And I am able to choose like what I'm feeling drawn to that day. Like today I need something that works on managing stress. And the whole meditation was deep breathing exercises and guided through the deep breathing. So I was like, that was perfect. That's what I needed that day. Another day I might need something for forgiveness or self-control or whatever it might be. And I can find that topic that will go to that in the amount of time that I have. And it works out really well. Last night I used it to just play 2 hours of tranquility. That's what works well for me to fall asleep right away, because it's so important to get your rest. And I really didn't want to be up in my mind thinking. So I thought this will help me fall asleep, and it worked so good. So I really recommend Insight Timer if somebody's looking for a really good free app. And they have live classes and things on there as well that you can do as well. I usually just do the pre-recorded, but I don't need one more thing I need to stick on my schedule. So,
exactly. And that's how people view it as too. Even, I remember like, when I was working, in the school system, it's like, okay, keep track of your exercise, keep track of this, keep track of that. I'm like, no, I don't want one more thing to have to do. I just want to do it without having to track anything.
Right.
But that sounds like a wonderful app. Absolutely. Any type of anything that you're drawn to, like if it resonates with you, if it feels right, trust it and go with it. And it's just, and if you're not, some people are like, oh, I don't know how to meditate. Honestly, it's just sit in quiet. And even when you have those wandering thoughts, there are some schools of thought on meditation that say, if you keep getting these thoughts, like maybe it's trying to get your attention for some reason. Maybe it's something that needs to be addressed or needs to be healed. So, it is challenging to sit in meditation. Like you don't want to sit in meditation and be fighting with your thoughts. Like, okay, be quiet, because that defeats the purpose. But absolutely, sometimes it's maybe something you need to hear or need to give some attention to.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Linda. You've shared so much wisdom, and I think that anybody who has the opportunity to listen to this episode will be very grateful for everything that you had to share. So I really, truly appreciate it. It's been a blessing to have you as part of my life now, and I'm looking forward to learning more from you in the future, and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you asking me to be on here, and I hope that there are some takeaways that your audience has. Again, listen to your heart, follow your inner wisdom, and if something resonates with you, if it feels right, trust that feeling and just go with it. The more that we can let go, let God, the more we can follow the path that we're meant to follow, and again, be grounded and connected to our purpose here on earth.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have found value in these episodes, please be sure to share and subscribe. I have so much more in store with guests that I can't wait to learn from.